Welcome to Us Crazy Christians, where we uncover Christian myths and Bible misinterpretations with common sense Christianity. I'm your host, William E. Smith, and today we're doing video number 2 in our series on the last days and the end times. So I started this series off on the origins of our current end time teachings. But in this video, I want to deal with audience relevance before we jump into the mark of the beast, the great tribulation, the Antichrist, etc. Audience relevance is something that theologians, Bible scholars, and historians understand and incorporate in interpreting the Bible or other historical documents. But I've learned that not all of us understand that. So we're going to break that down today. Audience relevance is the consideration of who the writer was talking to and the possible understanding that the audience may have had of what the author or the speaker was saying. I remember as a child in the 70s growing up in Detroit, and it seemed like everybody called each other blood. What's happening, blood? What's going on, young blood, blood? And it had a meaning. We interpreted it back then to mean bro, buddy, friend, homie, stuff like that. Fast forward another decade, 80s and 90s, all of a sudden gang culture is really big and all over the rap scene, and you hear blood, but now it refers to gang members. Total different meaning than it had just a decade before. So saying blood in the 70s to that audience meant something different than saying blood in the 80s and 90s to a different audience. Most of the time, the word bad meant something negative. It was almost self-explanatory. But there was a period during the 80s and 90s when LL Cool J and Michael Jackson reinterpreted the word, gave it a different meaning, where all of a sudden bad was good. An example would be like, whoo, that girl bad. Confusing older generations all the time, like, what's wrong with her? Where we totally meant it as a compliment. Again, audience relevance matters. Who are the writers talking to? And what would have made sense to the audience that was listening at the time? Those are important things to consider. My favorite Bible story as a child growing up was Joseph and his coat of many colors. And I think the reason I related to it because Joseph had dreams and visions of his future, and his family didn't necessarily support him or believe in him. And he had to kind of hold on to those for himself, and eventually everything he said, everything he spoke, everything he dreamed happened. And I related to that. I felt like I had dreams and goals, and I saw myself as bigger than my family and my friends saw me. And so I related to that story. But one thing that really grabbed me that I didn't really understand the full depth of at the time, being so young, was that Joseph, when he told his dream to his parents, his dream consisted of the sun, the stars, and the moon bowing to him. Immediately, once he woke up and explained that dream to his father, his mother, and his brothers, they were instantly offended. Why? He didn't say they bowed. He said the stars, the moon, the sun bowed to him and worshiped him and served. Why would that happen? Why would they be upset at him? If you read the story immediately after that, they said, who are you? Who do you think you are that your parents would bow to you, that your siblings would bow to you? They instantly understood, audience relevance, that he was talking symbolic language, apocalyptic language. It was a language that was common to the Hebrews. Not only in that instance, all through the Old Testament and a lot of the New Testament, they used the same language. But because we want to take things so literally, like if his parents would have took it literally, they never would have been upset at Joseph. But they totally understood the meaning of what he was saying. He was using symbolic language that is all throughout that culture. Think about that. You can call it prophetic language, apocalyptic language, symbolic language, regardless of what title you give it. It is clearly understood by the first century Christians who read the New Testament. Their parents did it, their parents did it, their parents did it. As a matter of fact, I had a friend of mine who said, William, I've been over to the Middle East. Right now, if you go over to the Middle East, they talk to each other in such dynamic ways. A simple communication between two friends, they're talking about destroying each other and killing each other and wiping each other off the face of the planet. They're not even in a serious argument or debate. They just talk with such strong apocalyptic language. Now, I haven't experienced that myself. I had a friend told me that's true. If I'm wrong, I got it from somebody else, secondhand knowledge. But again, something to think about. Is it just something that they're used to doing? Stars, the moon, the heavens, the earth, all this kind of stuff. You see that all through the Bible, not just in the New Testament prophecies, not just in Revelation, but all through the Old Testament. Even in prophecies that came to pass. They would mention the destruction of the world and the earth shaking and big supernatural things, but when the actual prophecy came to pass, it was nothing like that. It was just symbolic of something that happened. Research it for yourself. I gave an example of an audience relevance issue in one of my first videos I did on this YouTube channel. It's called, Why Did God Abandon Jesus on the Cross? I'll attach a link to that at the end of this one, but you should check that video out. It talks about how Jesus was on a cross and when he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Us Christians in this generation, us Western civilized Christians, we look at that and we think Jesus was complaining. He was distraught. God had turned his back on him. But further research will show that he was just repeating a quote from King David. And it was a positive quote. If you keep watching it, it goes further and further. Matter of fact, it was a famous song in the first century for the first century Jews and Christians. So that was the lyric, the beginning of a song that would cause the audience to go singing, probably if they weren't crying. Research it for yourself and check out my video. Why did God abandon Jesus on the cross? We just getting started. See you next time. If you want to see more from us crazy Christians, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell so you know every time we post a new video. Thanks for watching. Be blessed.